All right. Well, hey, it's great to be with you guys today. Thanks for being here. It's good to have you guys. Welcome to our brand new series called Heartbreak Hotel. My name is Pastor Chris. My wife, Brenda, and I, we pastor here at our city church. And if you're a guest, I just want to say thanks for being here today. You are so a big part of what we do around here. And to our church that invited someone, props to you for doing what we do around here. We invite people into an environment where we hope God can change their life, impact their life. I want to take a minute and welcome everyone watching online or listening to this on a podcast. And in high hopes that Brandon and I's cool little friend we met. I don't mean little in terms of stature because you're awesome and amazing, but you are short. But we are rooting for you. We were super honored to meet you last night. Thanks for being so great to Eliana. And we hope to see you at an Our City Church service sometime in the future. We met someone really awesome and incredible. And they were just so great last night on a plane home. We barely caught our flight home. So we're glad to be with you. And I just want to say to everyone out there in online land, thanks again for being faithful and being a part of what we do. We have people listening all around the world. And we're just a 4-month-old little church doing what God's called us to do, and it's pretty exciting. Thank you to the All-In team for just being faithful. And this last couple of weeks, it's been great to see so many new people take the 90-day challenge. So for those of you that have done that, thank you for trusting us. We see that. We feel that as a team. And it's been really moving for us to see a church get behind this vision that God's given us. And we're off to the races. Today, we're going to open our brand new series. Heartbreak Hotel is going to be a time for us to talk through some of the things that break our hearts. And this is not a romantic series. We will talk about relationships that include romance, but it's just one of the types of many relationships that are very important to us. And so we want to talk about what do we do with our relationships that mean so much to us when certain things happen that can really break our hearts, and how do we recover from that, and what do we do about that? And so we're going to talk through, I think, a bunch of different scriptures the next couple of weeks. But I want to tell you right now, even if you're here today and you're maybe not even a Bible reader, or you're just coming back to church or just checking us out, I would ask you just commit for the next couple of weeks to the series and just say, hey, I want to hear it, because I really do think that this thing has so much that will help you be able to assess where you're at and where you're headed. And the way I want to kind of set that up is, and I should also let you know, I totally got sick last week and lost my voice last Sunday. Like, I held nothing back. If you were here last week, I just was like, I threw caution to the wind, and I just was like, let's go for it, as if it was the last sermon I would ever preach. And it almost was. Man, I couldn't talk all last week. I totally lost my voice. And so this is the best it's been all week. So if you are accustomed, if you're home team and you're all in here, there's a passion that lives in my heart, and I cannot ever keep it from coming out when I preach. And then there's also this East Bay, San Francisco, Oakland kid that lives in there too. And he comes out to play on most Sundays. He won't today because I can't control his volume. But I need to, because my voice is hurting today. So if you're new and please come back. We will have so much more fun than I can do today. But I'm going to try to keep myself in this super safe box. I doubt it happens, but I'm going to try my best today. I don't know about you, but when I was right out of high school, right into college, I went through a season and a period of life where, I owned a bunch of different cars. I owned 21 cars by the time I was like 24 years old. I wasn't really good at fixing them. And so I would just get rid of them, right? And get a new one. And I owned so many bucket of bolts, like the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang looked like a brand new Mercedes, like compared to the cars I was riding. And I don't know about you, but I always had cars that it was okay to have when you're a single dude in college, right? Like it's equivalent to my income, and it's equivalent to the status of people I rolled with. Okay, because college guys don't care that your car is a POS, and so that's a certain maker. I don't know if you know that, but it's a really, yeah. Some of you have bought the manufactured car that I have spoke of. And, so I remember so many different stories. I mean, I'm talking about running out of gas. How many of y'all have ever ran out of gas cruising into the gas station? Where are y'all at? See, I know I got some other crazies in here, right? How many of you have ever driven on a totally flat tire to get to the gas station? Like, I mean, and you're hurting the rim, the tire, like everything in it. The car is not going to do well when you're done with it, but you got to get there, right? Like we do these crazy things. And the inside of my car also, the inside of your car will tell you a little bit about you. You know, we're clear on that. Like for some of you, it tells the kind of person you are by what's underneath your seats. For some of you, it's old Taco Bell. Some of you, it's old fiery Cheetos, right? Some of you, it's McDonald's French fries, right? It's like you could just tell. Or some of you, it's just chips. You know, it's just like you eat guacamole and chips like in the car, right? Like, and so I know, like, I remember at the time, like I had this real busted old, I mean, it had a nickname, okay? The car, the muffler broke and it made a sound you could hear, I'm not lying, a mile away you heard my car coming. It was so illegal. And it would echo through the mountains of Santa Cruz as I would drive in, and everyone knew, oh, Chris is coming. And the paint of it was like once upon a time white, but I think when they painted it outside, and it must have got really windy, and a bunch of dirt and dust got on the paint, but the people left it. So it was like speckled with a bunch of little like dirt on the white. And so we called it horchata. How's the name of my car? And so, like horchata was my ride. But what's funny is the back seat of the car was not even a back seat. It was 2 pieces of plywood with a piece of carpet over the top. And the guy that had done this, he just put seat belts like on the carpet, like as if, so in case you got pulled over, it's like, no, it's okay, officer. Just keep moving. Nothing to see. It's like, no, you couldn't even put anyone back there. That was my car in college, horchata, okay? And I can tell you for a fact, that car was not getting me dates, okay? None of the ladies were like, oh, I got it. Please ask me out. I just want to see what it's like nobody was like that. They just wanted to hear it, drive, and keep driving by. And it's interesting because it was where my life was at. I mean, dude, I'm not lying. It had the upholstery hanging down from the top. The dome light didn't work. It was a 4-speed that should have been a 5-speed. It could hardly get uphill. And that was where my car always broke down. And that's just like where my life was at. The reality is that was fine because I was single. I was in college. I was studying to be a pastor. And so there wasn't like a whole lot that was required of the vehicle. But the thing about it is my life would eventually mature and change where I would want more than that. And here's the unique thing is I thought about, as we're starting this series, Heartbreak Hotel, and that's similar to how some of it is for us in life, right? Like when we're single or we're in high school or we're in college, our heart it is made by God, right? Like, and originally it's great, but we go to work on it, or we don't take care of it, or we let a bunch of other people run shotgun in it, or practice driving, or learn to drive a stick on it, and like all of a sudden it's broke down and hurt, and it's got parts from other manufacturers on it that shouldn't be in it, and it doesn't run right, it doesn't work well. It might get you to work and back, but everyone can hear when you're coming. Okay? And not only that, but the kind of people you want to have in your life someday, your heart and the vehicle of your soul actually keeps people from wanting to ride with you, right? And when they get in, the experience is, are you kidding me? And if you're a guy, it's like, you want a woman to one day join and want to ride shotgun in life with you, right? If you're a woman, you're like, man, one day I want a guy to want to be able to like roll, but it's like, it smells like old food, right? The upholstery's all beat up. No one's taking care of it. It ain't been washed. It ain't been washed on the inside. It's a mess. It's beat up. The back seat don't even work. And then it's like we want to then have someone choose forever with us in our bucket of bolts. We want to one day bring a family into that. And the reality is for some of us, I think that what we need to do is take a look underneath the hood of how did the engine get to where it's at? Why do I respond the way I respond? How do I interact? What level of trust do I bring to the table, or lack of trust? What level of jealousy do I bring to the table, or lack of transparency? What is it that I'm doing with my heart? Because the grid of your heart is where all your relationships come from. So whatever's going on underneath the hood is going to be what people interact with you and what they experience when they get close and connected to you. And so this will then be the experience of the person riding in the car with you. This will be the experience of if the two of you end up having kids, that's the experience those kids are going to have. And you will define automobiles, you will define relationship, you will define friendship to the friends who get in and they're around you. And it's important for us at our city church that you know and learn that God created you for relationships that are fulfilling. He did not create you to have broke down, heartbroken relationships. And if that has been your experience, then there is something wrong underneath the hood that maybe you just don't have the skills to look at. I'm not a good mechanic. I could change my oil, I could change the tire, but man, I'm telling you right now, past that, I'm taking it somewhere. And for some of you, you have heart issues that God can fix, but you have taken your heart to so many people who are just journeyman mechanics. People who think they know what they're doing. Women who think that they know how, and they don't. They just make it worse. And then it sputters, it smokes out, it can't be reliable. And now you're trying to live your life and depend on what's going on underneath the hood for really meaningful relationships. And it's hard to do it. Actually, it doesn't work very well. So what we want to do is take the next couple of weeks and say, okay, God, speak to us as a church, speak to us as a community, speak to us as a people, and help us to be honest. And for some of you, it's going to be tough. Because when you really get honest and you look in the mirror and you look underneath the hood of how you are and why you are the way you are, some of us ain't gonna like what we find. But without the courage and the bravery to be honest with yourself, you will stay as you are, and it will continue to be the same ride you've had, and you will have the same reactions from people who get in and get close to the inside of who you are, and they're like, I'm sorry, like, you're cool, you're great, like, I'm sure you're used to it, but I can't do this. And if you're single today, I'm telling you right now, this is vital for you, because you've got a chance to get honest with yourself before you put someone in the passenger seat that's long-term. You don't have kids right now. You don't have a husband. You don't have a wife. You don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend long-term that is like, man, are you kidding me? You locked me into this seatbelt. Now we're here forever. How did I not look into this thing a little bit? I should have Googled you. You didn't watch no YouTubes on how to change. You don't know nothing, and now you stuck because the seatbelt locks, y'all. And this is the problem. The problem is often relationally, we get so connected at a level. We get so past emotional wisdom, and we're really soul connected. We get sexually connected, physically connected, or so some of us we don't have good friendship making skills. We tell all of our secrets to someone we've met 3 weeks ago. And then you wonder why in 3 weeks after that, they don't want to stay friends with you. I'm telling you right now, the Bible teaches us stuff like this. And we're going to talk through the next 6 weeks. One of the free ones I'll give you now right now is the Bible says love covers a multitude of sins. If you've got a multitude of sins, don't go sharing them with somebody that don't love you yet. Love covers a multitude of sins. Not attracted to, not thinks you have a good personality, not thinks you look good in those jeans. No. Love. And love ain't a feeling. No matter what they tell you in the music, no matter what they tell you in the movies, love is not a feeling. Love is a commitment and a devotion that is way beyond what I feel. And anyone been married longer than 10 years can tell you that stuff. You don't feel it all the time. You do it. You stay committed to it. You are resolved to experience it and to give it away sacrificially even at times. That's real love. And so when we come now as a people and say, okay, God, talk to us. How can we do this? And again, this is going to help you with your dating, but this will help you being a boss. Okay, this is going to help you with your nieces and nephews. This is going to help you with your grandma and grandpas, your aunts, your uncles. This is going to help you with every relationship that matters to you, with your best friend. Some of you have really, like I do, very deep and personal relationships. Some of my best friends in this world, you guys know some of my best friends that are out there. Pastor Corey Lee, he's one of my best friends. This stuff right here has been fleshed out years over years. I mean, I've known him, I don't know, about 15 years or so. And we've been able to walk through tough, painful, difficult things as friends. We've both lost our fathers. He just recently this last week. And so we've gone through heartbreak, painful moments in our marriage, times where we were just like, what is this marriage going to become? And being able to talk through that stuff as pastors and friends and work through what does it mean to be a better father, a better husband? What does it mean to be wiser with our money? How do we walk through all of these entanglements relationally? Your friendships are going to be benefited if you can learn how to deal with what causes heartbreak, and you might be surprised to find that the heartbreak isn't because the car drivers on the outside of your car have so many problems. You might come to find that the reason your car breaks down is it could be because of the people or the things that you do to try to, quote, fix it that actually make it worse. So today I want to start by looking at one of the most famous scriptures in all of the Bible. It's called, even outside of the faith, the love chapter. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I'd like to invite you to go ahead and open your Bible and turn there today. And we're going to look at what does the Bible talk about when it comes to the things that we need. And so what I want to contrast today is this. Some of you are already in a long-term relationship, and that's great. And this is going to help you today. Some of you are not, and this is really going to help you today. Today, I want to contrast a few things, and one of the things I want to contrast is what it is that we often do in our culture versus what the Bible teaches us. So I want to contrast. The Bible teaches us how to end up in relationships that are fulfilling and satisfying, because God is the author of life, and God is the author of relationships. That means that God also knows how life and relationships should be done, be ran, be managed. And so we're going to look to him and say, okay, how does relationships work since you started the whole thing? Let's look and kind of find out what he has to say. The way I want to kind of start this off is I want to talk to you about a myth that a lot of us have been told, and many of you believe, and you may not know you believe it. I've talked to a lot of couples in my 20. Gosh, geez, Louise. I've been in ministry over 20 years. 21 years. That's so long to me right now. I feel like I'm still supposed to be young, and I'm like, I've got 21 years in full-time ministry. That's crazy to me. But in 21 years of talking with parents, teenagers, young marrieds, dating, seriously dating, anything, and single people, divorced, single again, widowed, I mean, everybody. In all of that time, I have found a few things about long-term relationships. Nobody has a marriage problem. People think they have marriage problems, but you don't. And if you're single, I want you to listen to what I'm about to say to you right now, because you think if I start to talk about marriage, that the relationship series or this discussion or this part of the message is not for you, but this is totally for single people. But if you're married, listen to me. People don't have married people problems. No one ever has that. People have single people problems that they take into their marriage. If you're single right now, you might think, oh yeah, my friends got married. If you have married friends, they have problems. So they have married people problems. No, they don't. They have single people problems that they brought into their marriage and they didn't fix appropriately, get help for. And now their marriage has married people problems that actually are just two single people who got married together and brought their single people problems to the marriage. If you're single right now, this is your chance to look into and be honest and real and avoid how much harder it is to do the work when it's not just you working on one engine, but two. Because God brings the marriage together when you come together and you're husband and wife and you're married and you're committed. Or if you're in a relationship right now that is like you're dating, you're seriously dating, you're into it. It's like it's so much harder to get honest about one engine, one soul, one heart. It's so much harder to do that with someone else's engine pumping fumes into your mouth, making sure like you're sitting in there like, dude, you are toxic. You are so, and you're trying to like work in an environment where somebody else is not able to give you the best case scenario for you getting healthy. It's difficult to do when someone is working through their own stuff. It's so much easier if you're single. That doesn't mean if you're married, you don't have the responsibility of doing it. You do. I'm just making sure that if you're single, you don't check out. That you don't think, oh yeah, when I'm married, I'll deal with my marriage stuff. No, you're single right now. You're dealing with your married people problems right now. What you don't deal with, you will have to face in marriage. Or it will take your marriage to a level of unhappiness and frustration that you will be forced to deal with it one way or the other. I promise you that. And every married person in this room is shaking their head, nodding their head, or crying a single tear right down their cheek. Marriage is not the problem. Having a wedding, buying a ring doesn't create problems. That's not what creates problems. The problems are already there. Now, here's the myth. The myth is, and now if you're married, listen in, because this is the myth. Married people tell themselves before they get married, and then they think they figure it out, and then when things come up and they're problematic, they go back to believing the same lie. Are you ready for the lie? Here's the myth. This is the one we're going to challenge today. We'll do 5 more of these, but today, here's the myth. The myth is, when I meet the right person, everything will be all right. when I meet the right person, if I would have married the right person, if I would have married someone else, if I would have just found, if I would have waited and not been in such a hurry, if she was just more like, oh, I remember what it was like to be with him. He was different. I knew what it was like. And she was so much, man, she don't even know that, man. Am I being real enough for y'all right now? See, this is the myth we believe in. It's in our culture. It's ripe in our culture. We tell ourselves, if you were just a little bit more like, and we think this stuff. Listen to me. If you're married and you're in trouble, your marriage is in problems, you got single people problems. You need to work on your single people problems. You've been avoiding it. You keep thinking if your partner would work on their single people problems, then your marriage problems would go away. Can I give you a little clue in on something? You're part of the problem because you think like that. The problem that you think that if they would fix their single people problems, then your marriage problems would go away. It's part of your marriage people problems. That's your single people problems. And so what I want you to understand today is this, is chemistry is not the only ingredient needed for a good relationship. Chemistry is going to fade away. You will feel it. It will have a high. It should start at the beginning of the relationship. If at the beginning of the relationship, you don't feel like you're falling in love, you don't feel high levels of chemistry, you don't think that if it's just you and them against the world, that nothing can ever come and ever get in your way, then you are not with the right person. Okay, you should think crazy stuff like that you believe and you think it's always going to be like that. That's the kind of stuff you ought to think early in the game. If you don't think that stuff early in the game, get out the game with that person. Okay? But that is not all there is. That's the feeling God lets us feel, so we make a crazy decision like sticking with someone forever. Y'all didn't like that joke. I thought it was funny. Now, some of y'all is maybe too in it right now. You're like, man, that ain't funny. That hurts. I'm just kidding. God didn't do that. But I'm saying like, man, sometimes it's like, I can't believe, where was my mind when I chose forever with you? Like, you get into bad fights where you think, man, how in the world did I let myself make this crazy? Right? Well, you do that when you're in love and you think it will only be a chemistry, wonderful experience. And you don't recognize that chemistry is a gift to help our hearts gel and join and be willing to make a big step of trust towards each other. And then you spend the rest of your life learning how to be committed to that decision that you made. And the reality is that if we believe the lie that says, if I meet the right person, I won't need to be good at relationships, we never fight. That's one of my favorite things that new couples tell me. Oh, we never fight. I'm like, okay, man, that's so good. Can y'all write a book and give it to the rest of everybody else in the world? Since you guys never fight. That means you're never transparent and you're never authentic and you don't really share what you feel or think. Because if you don't ever fight, that means that you are just afraid to be honest with the person. Me and Brenda used to not fight until we got honest with each other, and then we started fighting. It was crazy. All of a sudden, she had different opinions than I did. It's like, what? You don't think we should do that? I'm offended. Then you fight and you work it out. It is not wrong to fight. Fighting is healthy. Fighting is a sign of a good relationship. It's two people learning how to work out the sparks between two different people's hearts and lives and mindsets and ideas and desire for like their own path and realizing my path and your path are two different paths towards like happiness on this evening. I think we should go out and we should, like go find a good Italian restaurant. You don't. How could you not? Simple, stupid stuff just like that, right? I mean, come on, man. Keep it real. How many of y'all got in an argument about where to go to eat? Where you at? Where you at? Come on. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Now, I could tell that some of y'all didn't want to raise your hand, but you looked at each other. And I just want to let you know I'm judging you for not raising your hand right now. Look at y'all. Sorry people. Can't even raise your hand. If I meet the right person, I won't need to be good at relationships because they will make me happy and I will make them happy. So we will just have a good relationship being happy together. Doesn't that sound sweet? Love is not going to keep you together. Chemistry is not going to keep you together. Sex is not going to keep you together. And passion is not going to keep you together. Do you know that second marriages have an even higher failure rate than first marriages? Why? Well, because married people do the exact same thing and expect different results. They get married thinking, oh, this time I picked better. This person, I am a better chooser than I was the first time. No, you're just as bad at choosing. And you're also just as bad at being honest about the fact that you have single people problems you're still ignoring, and you're blaming everything on the person that you chose. And that's part of your problem. It's not who you chose, that's the problem. To be honest, part of the problem is the person that you chose, who they chose. By the way, that was a long way of saying you are the problem. Just I lost some of you. You're like, I carry the one, Pastor Chris. Hold on, slow down, pump the brakes. I didn't do word math very good. Fine. That's on me. Okay, thanks for the feedback. 11 o'clock will not get that joke. Cut right out of the notes. There's a better way. Here's the contrast I want to talk through. Finding the right person versus becoming the right person. And if you commit to a life of becoming the right person, you do not stop working on this when you say I do. You do not stop this when your kids show up. You don't stop this when your grandkids show up. You are never done with the commitment to become the right person for who married you. You are never done with that. And this is why this is such an important commitment. And this is why we're starting this series this way. You don't need to be married or even dating or even interested in someone or ready to date for you to get committed to the idea of becoming the right person. Becoming the right person is crucial for you to say, I want to go all in on that. What does it look like for me to continually stay committed to? God, help me become the right person. You don't have to wait till you find somebody to work on that. If you wait to become a good soldier till you're in the middle of war, you're going to get yourself and other people killed. You can't wait to learn how to do that. You can't wait until you're in the middle of needing it to work on it. You need to work on it now. If you're single right now, or you're listening to this right now and you're single, man, you don't need to even be liking someone right now, and you still should be committed to becoming the right person. Now, I want to spend the rest of my time showing you what the Bible says that looks like. Because if we would commit to these things, it would transform our lives. And the major question I want to ask you, especially if you're single right now, I want to ask you this question. Are you the person who you are looking for? Maybe say it this way. Are you the person that the person you're looking for is looking for? Or are you just sitting there hoping one day someone amazing will come looking and find you and want to be with you? But you're not even considered, how are you working on becoming someone that the person you want to be with will even choose? Because if all we do is tell ourselves someday the right person and we'll just make it all right and it'll be great, it's kind of selfish to think that someone else would just want to take on all that you are and not consider, what does it look like for me to become someone that they would want? And I challenged a few of our college students before. I just said, they were so sad, Pastor Chris, I don't know, And they were all bummed out that, that they felt like nobody was interested. I got a question. This person that you have in your mind that you're going to fall in love with and be with someday, does that person want to end up with someone like you? Because if the answer is no, I just got to tell you as a pastor, I think that's kind of selfish to be like, yeah, well, never mind what's underneath my hood. I just, they just need to want to ride with me because I'm in the car. Well, sweetheart, we love you, okay? But that's not cool. It's not cool to just stay as you are when you know there's stuff wrong with the engine. You know there's stuff wrong with the way it runs. You know there's stuff wrong with the way you respond. You know there's stuff wrong with the way that you were, trained about relationships, and you're not addressing it, nor have you ever tried to seriously address it. And listening to a few good songs doesn't do it. Attending a few church services doesn't do it. It's real commitment. Real commitment. You got to get serious about it. And the Bible makes it super clear for us that this stuff will go against the grain sometimes. In fact, in 1 Corinthians 13, Paul is outlining to one of the first early churches, and he says, hey, I want you guys to know something, that this is what will mark you guys as Christ followers. This is vital that we learn how to do this. Everybody say there and then. If you're new to our city church, every week we preach from the perspective that I call there and then. I've called it that since 20 plus years. And this is what it means. For me, it means I want you to understand what was happening there and then in the Bible before we tell you about the here and now. I want you to learn how to apply it, but you need to know what was going on back then so you can really understand. Paul is writing this church in Corinth, why it's called the Corinthians. And it's a super secular society in comparison in its day. They had all kinds of crazy stuff that would happen in this city. And so there's no church. There's no ways of Jesus. Nobody knows knows how to do it yet. It's a brand new idea to follow this new guy named Jesus who rose and 400, 500 people saw him alive. And now everyone's like, okay, I guess he is God. And so how do we do this? So Paul shows up on the scene. He's writing, he's telling churches how to be churches. And one of the things he tells them is, look, they will know that you are followers of Jesus by your love. Love doesn't mean you never talk about tough subjects. It just means that when you do it, you don't do it from a perspective that you're better than anyone. You do it from a perspective that you were just as in need of Jesus' love and forgiveness and grace as anyone else in this room. And if every one of us can humbly come to Jesus and to each other and to our world with that perspective, the world would be a better place if we come and say, I need Jesus for forgiveness as much as anybody else out there. And so that is the place that I begin all discussions with anyone I agree or disagree with. Because if you're there, then humility will cover it. And this is what we hear from Paul. He says, I want you to learn about love, because Jesus' own words were, you want to know how they'll know that you're my disciple? You want to know how they'll know it's me you're following? The way you love people. And don't just love people you agree with. No, love people you don't agree with. How do you treat those who don't agree with you, who have hurt you, who haven't been fair to you? How do you do that? How do you love someone you've never met? How do you love someone that you have met? How do you love someone who has turned out to be different than who you thought you were marrying? How do you love them? What does it look like? And so this is where Paul begins to write out poetic words, but there's so much meaning here, and I want you to hear a few of the main things. He says this in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4. Love is patient. Everybody say patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast, and it is not proud. There's a few things to point out today. Love is patient, means love doesn't pressure. If you've ever felt like someone was pressuring you to move the relationship forward faster than you were ready for, that's not an expression of the kind of love that God's word teaches us we should be giving to one another. That's us taking it at our pace, not the pace of love. The pace of love says what's best, not what I want. Do you guys hear that? That's important for us to understand. And listen, when you get married, it's the same way. Some of us might be like ready to make this decision and ready to go, but our partner's not ready. They don't understand it or they're not sure. And I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes love being patient is super frustrating for those of us who are already ready to make the decision. I already know what I want to do. And it's irritating sometimes when the person doesn't get it. There's times where Brenda already knows how she wants the certain meal or the event or the people when they come over with the experience or where she wants or how vacation. She gets it. And I'm just not with it yet. And it's not fun for her to wait for me to figure it out. And it's not fun for me when I'm like, this is what we need to do. She's like, well, I don't know. I've got questions. What questions do you have? Right? I hope I'm not the only one in here. I think you're all laughing because I'm not alone here. We do it to each other. She does it to me. I do it to her. Listen, that is where we come face to face with who Jesus' character is and where we both recognize, oh, I need more of Jesus in my life because he's more patient than I am right now. And I have a hard time making sure that it's okay that we wait. We don't pressure. Love creates space and time and margin as the other person needs. Listen, if you're in a relationship and the only source of connection is that person only, that's an unhealthy relationship. You should be two full people who experience the joy of knowing two full people, not two people who are like, you're the only one for me, I'm the only one for you, and we don't need anyone else, and I don't have any other friends, and you're my only friend. It's actually not healthy. It's super unhealthy. You need to have outside relationships that are as healthy. It should never take more priority, but you should always have a full life that includes that. So if you ever get with a guy who just wants you to cut off all your connections, all your friends, and doesn't want you talking to your mom, and doesn't want you going home, and doesn't want you well, let's just me and you, baby. Oh, it's because I love you. And you get all these gifts and all this love. Know that it sounds so loving, but it is super controlling and isolating, and it is not going to a good place. Okay? If you ever have a lady and she's super jealous of every other friend you have, every connection, even if it's with someone that's in your family, and it's just and there's this nervousness about it that's wait, I'm not talking about your super beautiful coworker. That's appropriate if it's hey, she's a little, I just feel uncomfortable. That's fine. That's a healthy conversation to have. I'm talking about if you can't keep in touch with your family, some of your close friends, some of your guy friends, it's just it's time spent and it's always an issue, always a problem. That's something you want to look underneath the hood in your heart and make sure the two of you are looking underneath the hood and say, hey, is there something not running right here? Because I don't want to spend the next 20 years breaking this car down on the side of the road every single time something like this comes up and runs through the fuel tank and we can't run, we can't live, we can't go. And now we got kids in the back seat crying because Can't get to the destination. Why? Because we got to pull over and always have this discussion because the car can't run anymore. Why? Well, because I don't want you to go see your family anymore. I don't want you to call him. I don't want you. You can't wait. What are you doing? Me, only me, only me. It's like, no. Have friends. Go do girls' night. Go hang out with the boys. Just make sure that it always is the priority of the home that takes its first and formal place, and then after that, but never ever isolate only and just be like, no, it's only this, especially if you're dating. It's a super red flag. Love does not do that. It is kind, it is patient, it gives space, it is considerate. Kindness and patience is not natural. Did you hear me? Don't miss that. Kindness and patience is not natural. You have to intentionally do this to get good at this. Say it again, Pastor Chris, because I think you're trying to make a really good point that's really important, but I'm kind of spacing out a little bit. Okay, fine. That's good. I do that. Kindness and patience is not natural. You will have to intentionally go against your natural inclination to be super selfish and to think about yourself in order to become good at being kind and patient. You will not be good at this week. You are going to be bad at it. But I want us all to try to say, God, how can I be more kind and more patient and give more time for this? It says that love does not boast. It's not proud. It doesn't brag. It doesn't have to envy someone. It's not always trying to outdo someone's story. Make sure that they're always in their place of like, no, I am the only one who ever, and no, like let's celebrate, make room for everyone's stuff to get cheered. If the only person in the family who is primarily always being cheered is this one individual, there's a problem. And all the family is a culprit because everyone's afraid that if it was shared, that person would have a problem. And that person does have a problem. And God wants to confront that problem and say, you have a problem sharing. You don't even know it, but you envy when other people get spotlight or credit for things that you feel like you did more than they did about. That's a problem. That's not love. And God's word is clear and says, no, don't do that. When you do that, you take away the opportunity for other people to be celebrated because you just so desire and envy or need or have a want for making sure people know how much you really brought to the table. God says, hey, don't do that. You're envying even the credit that they could share. And even if you know you did do a little bit more than they did, that's part of being a leader. That's part of being sacrificial. Jesus knows how much he did to make sure we're right with the Father, but he's not walking around tooting his own horn, making sure all y'all need to know what I really did for you anyways. Wait. What are you telling this story about Peter? No, Peter didn't do I did that. Don't y'all know who I am? Well, I've just got to say, yeah, that's a great story and all. But there was this one time, I got to tell you guys, I was walking on water. Crazy, right? And listen, like this stuff sneaks into our hearts. You don't even know what happens. But before you know it, you've become someone that the Bible's saying, like, that's not love. That's not you becoming the right person. And listen to me. I don't care if you've been married for 30 plus years in here right now. This is stuff that will get back. You are a human. You are a broken, fractured human person that always and consistently needs and needs again and again the power of God's truth and Jesus' love and his right love to come in and say, that's out of alignment. And I want to put that back into place. Now, go out and keep working at being the person that someone else needs. In verse 5, it says, it does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. And it does not keep a record of wrongs. Now, that one is important. Some of you have a list called the record of wrongs. And you pull it out anytime they bring up something they're not happy with about you. As soon as someone says, hey, this kind of hurt my feelings, or I felt like not included, or I wish that you would have told me you were going to be home late, all of a sudden, oh yeah? You know what that sound was, right? The scroll unraveling of all I know that you have done wrong. Let us begin. It was a dark night, and and it's like, geez Louise. And this is what we do, right? We don't even know we're doing it, but we hold on. And some of us are better than others. I mean, some of you guys got like elephant brains on people's wrongs. You're just like, that's fine. I'm going to get you on that in like 6 weeks. Just watch. Go ahead. I wish you will bring up something I'm doing wrong because I got like 10 you ain't even thought about. You thought you got away with it because I didn't say nothing. I was just waiting to say something right now. Got you on this. Go ahead. Yeah, say something. Say something. I wish you would say something. I'm just lying. But it keeps no record of wrongs. I got a question. What would it take for you to let go of the record of wrongs that you're holding up just to make sure they can't get you? That's a defensive posture. That's a lack of trust. And it doesn't create authentic connection with the person that you're supposed to be becoming the best you can become for. And if you're single today, you can find this stuff in the way that you treat your roommates, your sister, your brother, your mom, your dad. You do the same stuff. Listen, when you go into marriage, don't think, well, no, I'll be in love with them, and so I'll totally treat them different than all these other meaningful relationships. No, you won't. You are practicing your emotional responses right now with everyone that matters to you. It doesn't matter if it's your roommate, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. Don't matter who it is. If they are close to you, you are right. They are in the car riding, and you are teaching yourself how to treat someone who is involved with your emotions. And one day, yes, you will be in love and there will be some chemistry, but do trust there are some potholes that will jack your car up so bad that it won't matter how much you felt chemistry with that person before. When everything goes flying crazy and people get hurt and all of a sudden there's this bad accident, you're like, what? And all of a sudden, those emotions that you had been practicing on, responding to your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, roommates, your boyfriend, your ex-boyfriend, your girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, all of a sudden, it comes up. You're like, whoa, I never thought I could respond like that to someone I felt so much in love for. And now you treat them just like you used to treat dad, mom, or saw mom, dad treat each other, brother, sister, all of it. So listen to me. This is stuff we have to work on consistently. We are never done. You never, ever get like, I'm done. No, we just graduate and graduate and graduate to a deeper level of the love that Jesus has for us and then through us to the people who are around us. It says that it always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, it always perseveres. Man, that's tough. Always hopes, always trusts, always protects, always perseveres. It perseveres through the tough times. It trusts, it keeps hoping that it will get better and it can get better, or that this isn't all that it is, or that we can learn to get better, that we could become the person Jesus is trying to make us to. Now, you got to know this. I'm not here to judge you. And Brandon and I are pretty honest. We try to be very transparent and honest. And if you're part of our city church, you know this about us. And we made a commitment years ago to God and to church life that we would not become these caricature pastor like figurines that like people need so that they can have this idea of what it's like to have perfect pastors that like don't go to counseling and don't argue and don't have issues. Like, do trust. Brandon and I still go to counseling once a week to a really good counselor. And we've been going to her for like about like 10 months now or whatever. 10, 11 months, almost a year. And like, we're committed to getting better. We're committed to looking underneath the hood of our heart and our souls together and being honest. It's tough. It's super uncomfortable. It's painful. It's hard. And it's required. If you want to commit to being the right person that God has for you to be. And the benefit of it is that it won't just be for your marriage or your romantic relationship. I become better for everybody because I'm working on the inside job. I'm working on me. I'm working on who Chris is. I'm working on the way things feel when it goes against the grain for me. And for you today, there might be a need for you to be able to look and say, hey, I want to get this right. You're not guilty. You're not judged. You're not worse than. You're equal to. In this place, you are just as bad as me, and I am just as bad as you. Okay? We say this all the time around here, but the ground at the foot of the cross is level at our city church. We believe nobody needs Jesus more, and nobody needs Jesus less. We need him different. You need Jesus for different reasons than I need him. I need him for different reasons than you need him, but we all need him equal, just different. And so today, I want to invite you into a couple-week journey to be able to say, okay, God, I've avoided some conversations about this part of my heart, about part of my story, part of my past, things that happened to me, things that weren't there for me. Some of you got neglect. You were given neglect. You needed genuine care, love, support, devotion from two loving parents and did not get it. And that affected you. And it might have been a long time, and you might have really good relationship with both of them, and that's fine. But it doesn't mean that there's not a part of the wiring of the way you respond and react and think and consider and choose that isn't still affected by that. And if you want to be committed to the love that God gives us and he wants us to express, then we have to recognize that happily ever after is only in a Disney movie. Okay? It don't just happen. It's a fairy tale and it's not real life. And the reality is nobody asks like Ariel and like Prince Eric like how they made it work after she basically lied to him for the first part of the relationship. While I'm at it. And while we're doing that, like no one else asked like Belle and the Beast like, How did they make it work after he was like a huge jerk for like 10 years? How did she like recover from that? We become adults. We have to put aside this fairy tale idea that everything will just work out when you find your Prince Charming or you find your princess. It's just not true. It works out when you work it out for yourself. Not when you blame, not when you point the finger, not when you're like, no. When you begin to go through and say, good God, I haven't taken this thing to the mechanic in a long time. And can I tell you this, that God has the patent on your heart. He knows what's broken. He knows what's not right. He knows how it got that way, and he knows how to repair it. All he needs you to do is bring it into the shop and let it be in there and say, okay, Jesus, you know what? I have fixed it all I can, and I've made it worse. I've broke it, and it's smoking. It don't work. It's not running right. I mean, it gets around, but I'm not proud of the way it is, and I'm not proud of the experience that people have the closer they get to the inside. And I want to change that. See, today, Jesus wants to help you do that. And that's why he has you here. What if we spent all this time like becoming the right person instead of looking for the person or looking for the person we're already with to change and miraculously make it better for me? And what if I gave that up and said, that's a myth and that's a lie. And God's way isn't for me to wait for her or him to change, for me to get busy doing the work of changing myself. What would our relationships look like if we stopped trying to find love, instead tried to find a way to be more loving or to be more available emotionally or be more kind, or the things that love says that it is? How would this affect our home? How could this affect our kids? How would this affect your college experience? How many less dating partners will you have thinking, I got to cycle through to find the right one? You don't have to go through all these heartbreaks. You don't have to go through all this drama. You don't have to have this past. You don't have to have this wake of broken experiences in your past because you just believed what the culture told you what it was like to find a partner. I got to kick the tires and make sure that No, you don't. That's not true. That's not the way God intended for you. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to get into all the dynamics of what makes relationships, friends, family, the dynamics of dysfunction, divorce, remarriage. Like, we're going to handle it all in the next 5 weeks. But it's got to begin with you committing to, okay, Jesus, I want to make a lifelong commitment to becoming the right person. And I'm never done working on him or her, for the ladies.